Hey everyone, it's Laura, and today is a very special video because I'm sharing my birth story with my sixth baby. You guys have been anxiously waiting for the announcement of this baby and the birth story, and so I decided to kind of flip my schedule around in the video that I was going to post this week. I'm going to do next week, which means I'll be pregnant in the next video, even though he's already born, but I didn't want to make you guys have to wait an extra week to hear his birth story and to announce to you guys that we did have the baby. So he was born just 2 days after his due date. I was due on August 26th, and he was born in the morning on August 28th, so very close to his due date, and everything went so well, and I just want to share his story. So what this pregnancy was different than my other ones. With my other pregnancies, I've never ever experienced any type of Braxton Hicks contractions or any signs of labor before going into like real labor and having the baby. So this time, a couple weeks ago, the baby dropped, and this was like really obvious to me because I was having some pretty bad rib pain, and the rib pain went away, and so I knew that the baby had dropped. I actually was seeing a chiropractor this time, so I don't know if that's why the baby dropped or if it was just coincidence. I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna go with it's the chiropractor. If I ever have any more babies, I'll definitely be doing that again. But the baby dropped, and then I also started getting some Braxton Hicks contractions a couple weeks before he was born. Just the normal like tightening, which for me was a new experience because I never have had that before. But it was not extremely uncomfortable, but it was still like something that was happening. And then the night before I went into real labor, I was having the Braxton Hicks overnight, and they were enough to where they were kind of like waking me up, just like the tightening, and I didn't really think too much of it. I do think that was still just Braxton Hicks contractions. The next day was Saturday, and I went out to lunch with my mother-in-law and one of my sister-in-laws, and then my husband and I took all the kids to the pool. Just a very fun, kind of relaxing day. That evening when we got home, we put the kids to bed, and around like 7:30, I started noticing that the Braxton Hicks were getting more consistent, and it made me start to wonder if they were actually Braxton Hicks or if these were now real contractions. So I started texting my sister, who has 7 kids, and this is my 6th baby, and you would think that by now we would like know, like, okay, this means labor, and we're both still like totally guessing, like I'm second guessing myself. She's like, well, I Googled this, and you know, it says that, and so we're trying to figure out like how to know the difference between Braxton Hicks and real contractions. So I decided I would start like timing a few, because she said that her thought was that if they were consistent, that would be more of a sign of real contractions rather than Braxton Hicks. So I was timing them, and I was noticing that about every like 10-15 minutes I was having these contractions. So I kind of started to think, you know what, this is probably real labor, because for me, whenever real labor starts and I don't have any like Braxton Hicks, it is this like slight cramping, kind of some tightening. It's nothing bad, but just to know that like definitely something's going on. So I went ahead and texted my midwife and just said, you know, this is kind of what's going on. Do you think that those could be like real or Braxton Hicks? And she kind of agreed with me with them being consistent, that would be a good sign that this is probably the start of labor. So this is around probably 8:30ish at night. So I timed a few more, and nothing bad at all. I was just watching a show with my husband, and I kept kind of getting up and walking around to make them come faster. I noticed if I sat down that they would kind of stop, and if I kept walking around, they'd be every 10-15 minutes. And that was another sign to me that it was actual labor and not just Braxton Hicks. So I was just walking around the kitchen, and when I would have one, I would stop and really relax through it. Not because I needed to, they were very, very mild, but more just to get myself practicing for later on when they would start to get a little bit more intense. I like to use the Bradley method during labor and just really relax through every single contraction. And so I was just getting myself prepared for that by relaxing through these beginning ones just to start practicing for later on. So around 9:30, I decided that I would text my mom and Nathan's mom because they always come over for, or wherever I'm at. This is my first home birth. I've had birth center births, I've had hospital births, but my mom, Nathan's mom, my sister are always present at all of my births. And so I decided just to text them. And I even put in the text like, hey, I don't really know, but I think I could be in the early part of labor. And so just, keep your phones on overnight tonight and I will keep you updated, keep you guys posted. So that was around 9:30. Around 10 o'clock, we went to bed. And at this point, I was pretty sure that this was the start of labor. And I told my husband, let's just go to sleep and I'll see if I can kind of like sleep through them because they still were only every like 10, 15 minutes. And that I would just wake him up and we would, if I needed him, and that I would most likely, we would be having a baby sometime in the morning or the next day. That was kind of my thought. So went to bed right here. My husband sleeps on this side. I was here. He was sound asleep and I was falling asleep in between the contractions. Every about 10 minutes, I would have one and I would get myself in my Bradley method position. In fact, I wasn't even in like the whole position. It's a very specific way of laying down to get yourself completely relaxed where you can like have your fingers kind of like falling through the mattress and like relaxing your face. And you're supposed to be laying on your right side, but I was on my left side because oh, I didn't even tell you, it's a boy. Oh my gosh, it was a boy. I'm gonna say that now, it's not even a secret. Baby boy, and I know you guys are all probably wondering like, when is she gonna say what it is? It's a boy. Anyway, he was posterior for the last couple weeks of my like prenatal visits. My midwives would check and he was in the posterior position. And so I was told if I laid on my left side, that could kind of help him to flip. And I wanted to be in obviously the optimal position when it was time for pushing. So I was laying on my left side. But anyway, I would have a contraction and after about, I would just relax through it. Very mild. They were very short. They were only lasting maybe like 15, 20 seconds long. And then after it was over, I would kind of like doze off and fall asleep. And I would have 10, sometimes 15 minutes. I have my phone here because I was timing them to kind of like figure out exactly where we're at. Just to like, I would write it down. And so I have one at 10:09 and then one, and then I guess maybe I stopped timing them or fell asleep for, I don't know, 11:45, midnight, 12:15, 12:25, 12:35. So you could see like they weren't very close together. And this happened all throughout the 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock hour. Every like 10, 15 minutes, I would have a contraction that only lasted like 15, 20 seconds. Very manageable when I was in my relaxing state. I don't know. They were very easy to relax through. I'm not sure if I was up like walking around, if it would have been different, but they were very manageable. So I just laid there and then I was falling asleep in between them. So this did not make me think that it was going to be anytime soon because I was falling asleep. They weren't getting any closer together and they were manageable. The last one that I charted on my phone was at 3:40. And I'm going to read you the text I sent my midwife at 3:41. I said, I'm still getting about 10 minutes in between each contraction, but the last two have felt almost like pushing contractions. So maybe it'd be a good time to head over just in case. So by pushing contraction, the two that I had right before I texted my midwife, they just felt like a lot of pressure to me. And I know from having lots of births that pressure can sometimes mean that you're getting ready to push. Now, if you've listened to any of my birth stories, my last births, I've had to push for a long time. That's why I tried the chiropractor this time to see if maybe getting the baby in a better position would help. Also with that, like the baby dropping this time, I was kind of expecting the pushing time to be less. So my last baby, my fifth, I pushed for 2 hours. The one before that I pushed for an hour. So I was used to pushing for a while. So the fact that I was like feeling the urge to push, and not really even the urge, just pressure, I thought it was probably a good time to kind of like alert the birth team and get the ball rolling. So my midwife has about a 30-minute drive, and because I already had warned her that this was probably going to be happening, she had everything all ready to go. So I texted her at 3:41 to head over. At the same time, I texted my mom and Nathan's mom, which they both have a little bit of a longer drive, but I just told them. And then I also texted my sister. Now, thankfully, my sister is about 8 minutes away, and so she was the first one to arrive. After I sent the messages, I got my 10-minute break, just like I had been getting. And then the next contraction happened, and it was definitely a pushing contraction. So that was about 10 minutes after I texted everyone. So my sister was just getting here, and I remember pushing like in the bed, and I told my husband, I said, I either just like peed in the bed or my water is coming out. I don't know. It didn't feel like a gush of water at all, but it was definitely like stuff coming out. So I got up and ran, like not ran, I just got up and like went to the bathroom because I like still felt like I had to go to the bathroom. And at this point, contractions were pretty much just coming like on top of each other. Just, you know, like I was still like kind of pushing and having a contraction. When I was going to the bathroom, I noticed a little bit of blood. So I knew that this was definitely not just me peeing the bed, and that there was probably something going on. So I came back to the bed and I said, I'm pushing, guys, just so you know, I'm pushing. And so Lisa and my husband stayed very, very calm. We at this point pretty much knew that we were going to be having a baby without the midwife here because I was pushing, and Lisa noticed that my water sac was bulging. She said, oh, your water sac is coming out. So I reached down and felt it, and it felt like a water balloon in between my legs. Like, okay, so we're having a baby probably. But still in my mind, I was like, with my other babies, I've had to push for a couple hours, and the midwife is only probably like at this point 20 minutes away, so probably she'll be here on time. So I wanted to be on all fours. That's just what felt comfortable. I put some pillows in front of me, and I like leaned forward on the pillows, and I pushed again. And this is when I realized that it wasn't going to be a long pushing session because I felt the ring of fire. And I said, I'm feeling the ring of fire. I know that the head's like right there. Lisa had got my phone and called my midwife. She had the same midwife when she had her last baby like 8 months ago. 9 months, no, how old is Theo? 10 months ago, I think. Yeah, like 10 months ago, she had the same midwife. So she knew her. So she called her and just said, you know, like, hey, we're having a baby, and she is, you know, feeling the ring of fire. I think the head's like right there. So the midwife kind of talked her through and just told her what to look for. Next contraction, I pushed, head came out, and she told the midwife that she saw the head, and the midwife just told her to check to make sure there wasn't a cord around the neck or anything, and if so, you could kind of like, you know, release that just to make sure there wasn't any cord around the neck. And she just said to let me push her out, or, you know, let me just to continue. She did at one point, I remember hearing on the phone her saying to tell her to lay to her side, and maybe that would like slow things down. And I heard Lisa say, I don't think she's gonna do that, which was definitely not happening. If you've had any natural births before, maybe even not if you felt like that pressure for pushing, you know that there's absolutely no way of stopping that. And so I didn't listen. I stayed on my all fours. And the next contraction I pushed, and he came out. And my husband was right there, kind of like caught him. Lisa was there too, and she actually like grabbed him and like handed him up to me. And when she handed him to me, she noticed that the water sac had like popped on him, like it was on his face. And so she just kind of grabbed it off of him, and thankfully he cried pretty much right away. So we knew that he was breathing and okay. The midwife was still on the phone, told them just hand her the baby, put him on your chest, which I had, I think my shirt was still on I think my husband helped me take my shirt off. I just kind of leaned back right here in the bed. We put him up against my chest and I rubbed his back a little bit. He cried for like a little bit, but then he kind of stopped. And so I, of course, was like, is he breathing? Which he was totally fine. So I just kind of like rubbed his back a little bit. My husband or Lisa, someone got a towel and we just kind of leaned back and put the towel on him to make sure that he was nice and warm. And then Lisa got off the phone with the midwife and we just kind of sat here and thought about what just happened. Like, okay, we just had a baby by ourselves, which was not the plan, but it went so well. It was so quiet and peaceful. They stayed extremely calm. I wasn't nervous at all. I think if maybe I was an outside person, not the person actually giving birth, I would have maybe been a little worried and thinking like, what if he gets stuck? What if, I don't know, his head doesn't come out first? I mean, they had checked position at my last prenatal appointment, which was like 3 days ago. It was like, oh, let's see, Tuesday, and this was Sunday morning. So like, and he was head down, but I think I would have been thinking about all like the what ifs, like the reason why I would have a midwife there to take care of these types of things. What if he comes out and he's not breathing or anything like that? But being the person in labor, I wasn't freaking out at all. None of that crossed my mind. All I was thinking about was that he was coming, or that the baby was coming. We didn't know the gender. It was kind of an exciting feeling, and that everything went fine. But I was super thankful that my sister was here because I think my husband would have, I don't know, he stayed super calm. I don't think he would have like freaked out, but I think it definitely helped him to know that she was here. She's given birth to 7 kids. She actually had one of her third baby in the van. So she's done this before. She's experienced. So to him, I think that probably helped a ton that she was here. Afterwards, it was kind of funny. We were here for about 15 minutes probably before my midwife got here. I actually have 2 midwives. She had told the other midwife, I guess she called and said, I'll be there at 5. He was born at, we think 4:13. That's the time we're writing down. That was whenever, like a couple minutes before that, Lisa had made the phone call, because when my midwife got here, she was like, did anybody write down the time of birth? And we were like, no. Like, we didn't think about any of that. All we were thinking about was getting the baby out and making sure that everything was okay. And she had called her, I guess, like 2 minutes early, so we just assumed it was probably like 4:13. So that's the time that we wrote down. And the other midwife had called the one that was already almost here and said that she'd be here at 5. So she just told her, don't even worry about it, don't even come. So just the other one came, and was super glad that she was here for after, because she helped me to deliver my placenta and like check me out and the baby. I didn't have any tearing. She did say that there was one small, like not even a tear, like stretch or something on the inside, but nothing that required any type of stitches. So everything was just as good as it could be. And then she stayed for a couple hours just to kind of like check things out. My mom and my mother-in-law got here probably 30 minutes after he was born. And when they came in, you know, it was kind of maybe a little bit of a shocker or surprise, like, here he is, he's already here. Things went really well. I say my baby, now my not baby, Benjamin, who is going to be 2 in a couple of months, woke up right after the baby was born. He does sleep in our room. So all the commotion did wake him up. He stayed asleep during the birth, which I'm so thankful, because I don't think that we could have handled a crying toddler at the same time. So thankfully, the plan was that my mom would be here and be able to take any kids that were awake if anybody woke up. But thankfully, all the kids stayed asleep until after he was born. And then he did wake up, Ben woke up, and then my daughter, who is right across the hallway, she said that she heard the part when I said, I'm pushing. And then she heard crying, and she stayed in her room, but she came in pretty much right after that. She came in the room to see him. She had big plans of being the one to see that he was a boy first and announce it to everybody. The boys, my older boys, wanted to be in here too. It just all happened so differently. You can't plan it than what we expected. That none of that really happened, but they came in. Actually, the boys slept for a couple hours after that, and we didn't even wake them up. But they did come in after that, and they got to meet the baby and everything. But I remember I was saying something, and I got sidetracked onto that. But in like the 15 minutes that we were here before the midwife showed up, my sister was saying that she had just like a different type of feeling. Like when I texted her, she was going to nurse her baby before she left her house because she didn't know like how long she'd be here. And then she just decided, you know what, I'm not going to nurse him. I think I need to get over there, which it's just, I think, a total God thing. And I'm so thankful because if she would have nursed her baby first, I think my husband would have been the only one here when I delivered him, which would have been fine because everything went okay. But I think it would have like been a lot harder on my husband not having anybody here because, you know, he's a guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he's seen births before, but he's not a doctor or a midwife, and he's never done this. So I think he was super thankful. She said on her drive over here that she just had like a different type of nervous kind of with her. Like she just, I don't know, like she kind of like knew it was going to happen. I didn't give any indication of that. I even like when I texted her, and also, let me see. When I texted her at 3:49, so obviously about 25 minutes before he actually was born, I said, the midwives are coming, come whenever you want. And the time I texted her before that was at 9:02 when we were talking about if we were sure if it was labor or not. And she said, hopefully you can just sleep through them. That was like the last thing we texted, and I didn't text her again until the 3:49. And then she texted back pretty much right away and said, all right, heading your way. So she did get here pretty quickly after that, but she did just say that she had a little bit of just a different feeling. She couldn't really explain it. She didn't know why, but now I know, or just definitely think it was a God thing for her to know, like not to nurse the baby, just to get over here. And we are just so thankful that she got here. So that's his birth story. It was definitely my easiest birth of all of my kids. It was pretty much pain-free. I was able to relax and like sleep up until he was born. I mean, 3:40, like I said, was the last time that I had wrote any contractions down and decided it was time to text the midwives. And then it was kind of, I had a couple more that were like that. And then it was probably 4 o'clock and I realized that we were definitely pushing. And those contractions still, like, they were intense, but they weren't, I wanted to describe it as like incredible painful or anything. I remained pretty calm through them. I don't think it was, I don't know, it wasn't like, it was a very, very calm, peaceful birth. And so sweet. And then I pushed him out, and like I said, the plan was that my daughter would see what it was, but she wasn't even in here. We all saw right away it was a boy. So I've had 1 girl and now 5 boys, which we were pretty much expecting a boy. I'm not at all shocked. I mean, okay, I am a little bit shocked when I say 5 sons. It's like, wow, like I have 5 sons. It's just very, very, that's just like very weird to me, just because it's just so many boys. But I was pretty much thinking it was a boy the whole time. We did not have a name decided right after he was born. We had talked about names. We kind of had some names on a list, and one of the names on our list was Jacob, and that's what we decided to go with. So his name is Jacob, and my husband likes the nickname Jay instead of Jake. I'm sure he'll probably be called Jake sometimes, but I think we're going to try to call him like Jacob or Jay. And then for the middle name, we went with Lee. Kind of has a triple meaning. All of my boys' middle name, they're named after somebody. And I have a cousin who passed away this year, and his name was Lee. And so we wanted to name him after him. And then also Nathan's grandparents on his dad's side both have the middle name Lee. So it's kind of a triple meaning to have that middle name Lee. So Jacob Lee is his name. He was my biggest baby. He was 9 pounds, which is so shocking to me. My very first baby, my daughter was only 5 pounds. My second was 6. My third was 7. And my 4th baby was 8 pounds. And then my 5th baby went back into the 7-pound range. And so I always kind of joked like, oh, that'd be funny if I had a 9-pound baby, but never really thought that I would. I don't know, I have little babies. My biggest baby until him was only 8 pounds, 2 ounces. So whenever the midwife got here and she saw him, she said, he looks like a big baby. And when she weighed him, we were pretty shocked that he was 9 pounds. But 20 and a half inches long, 9 pounds. But he is pretty chunky. I can tell now, like after she weighed him, like yeah, he does look pretty chunky, but so sweet. Currently while I'm filming this, he is just a little over a day old. It's Monday. I had him on Sunday morning at 4 o'clock. This is the next day. My mother-in-law and my mom took all of my kids. They kind of split them up and took them, and they have them for the first few days. So it's just me and my husband home with him. It's been really relaxed. And this morning we woke up and I said, you know, I'm going to film his birth story this morning because I love filming it when it's fresh in my mind, not just for you guys, but also for myself. I love listening to birth stories. In fact, the last several weeks, like leading up to his birth, I listen and watch a lot of like positive natural birth stories. Just helps to get me ready for my own birth, and I listen to my own, and I just love birth stories. And so I feel like if I say it right away, then I don't forget things. So I want to film it right away. So here we are, and I'm gonna, like, you guys are gonna get to see it quicker now too. I've had it on my schedule, like penciled in, like birth story, but who knows, because I didn't know when I would actually go into labor. But we've just been cuddling and pretty much skin to skin. I put a shirt on for the first time since the birth just to film this video. He's just been laying up against me. He's nursing really well. I mean, just being a baby. Just newborns are the best. I will be here cuddling him for the next couple of weeks and just doing nothing but staring at him and getting to know my little baby. And I still like look at him, and my husband, I just keep calling him Benny because that was our last baby, and it's hard to get used to Jacob. We haven't, you know, he wasn't named until he was born, so we have to keep getting used to the fact that this is Jacob. You're not your brother Ben. But anyway, that's my birth story. Thank you guys so much for watching and just kind of following along, and I'll probably continue to get out one video a week. There might be a week where we're off. I did get a video ahead, so like I said, you will see the next video. I'm going to be pregnant, but I just flipped these around because I didn't want to make you guys have to wait an extra week to meet the baby and hear the birth story and know that he is a boy. So anyway, I will talk to you guys all soon.